Hey everybody, Jamie Stokes from Royal LePage. Today's video, I'm going to talk about a meeting I had today. It involved lawyers, mortgage brokers, brokerage managers, and a little bit of insider information here. So first off, I'm going to touch on what the lawyers were saying. The lawyers said that there's kind of a consensus of people really struggling to pay their bills right now, having to choose between mortgage, gas, utilities, groceries, things like this, or, not being able to afford. There's some real affordability issues here. Second off, mortgage brokers were discussing mortgage rate hikes. So we're getting another one, I believe, tomorrow, and then another one in November. I believe the one tomorrow is going to be 0.75%, and then the one in November they're predicting is probably 0.5%, if not 0.75%. So we're looking at some pretty significant mortgage rate increases and some affordability issues. So I have some clients who are looking at selling in the spring for various reasons. I won't get into that. It doesn't really matter. As I've said in my past videos, it's up to clients when it's best for them to sell. I'm not worried about my commission checks. If that was my main priority, I need to eat and live, but if commission checks were my main priority, I wouldn't be lasting long in the business. People would see through that and they would know that I'm just greedy and I'm money hungry, and I would get called out on it and I wouldn't get very far in business. So these clients and other people who want to sell in the spring, if mortgage rate hikes continue on the route that they're going, that's going to lead for a very bad spring. We know that springtime is essentially the best time or the most common time for people to list their homes. It seems to be most convenient for them. We get some sunshine out there. Everybody's in a good mood. They want to move. They want to freshen things up. They want to restart parts of their life, different things. So springtime is always very popular. With the mortgage rate increases and the cost of living going up, mortgage broker said that the Canadian government's main goal right now is to reduce inflation. Our government's talking about 6-7% inflation, and we all know that this is not true. If you go to the grocery store, your utilities, any payments that you have, anything like this, they've gone up anywhere from 20 to 50% on average, I would say. My utilities alone went up 50 to 60%. Going to the grocery store, same thing. You're looking at 20, 30, 40, 50% on a lot of things. Meat's really gone up, especially bags of rice, for example. I eat a lot of rice. I like rice. It's a pretty universal thing. And rice used to be $11-12 a bag. It's now gone up to about $19 a bag, $20 a bag. So these are just a few examples, but we know everything when it comes to groceries, has gone up quite a bit. Utilities, car payments, credit card payments, anything like this, everything has gone up. So this is going to bite into our affordability for buying houses, and our government will be at some point having to review the mortgage stress test. So what changes they're going to make to that, I won't comment on right now. I'm not 100% sure, but they've got to come up with something new. I haven't put too much thought into it just yet. I wanted to kind of get this video out there. Brokerages, there's a lot of agents who are kind of stuck. Older agents I want to comment on. A lot of you guys, who've been in the business 20, 30, 40 years, even a little bit less than that, you're saying we've been through this before, market changes and things like this. And I know we have, prior to me being in the business, I've been in real estate for about 8 years now. And yes, we've had some housing corrections, crashes, whatever you want to call them. Nobody's sure what to call things right now. But a lot of the older agents are for some reason thinking that this is the same as it was, back in the 80s or whatever, how we're just going to bounce back from it. I think this is going to be a little bit longer. I think this is going to last a few years just because of what's going around globally. And if you're dealing with a realtor, ask them if they pay attention to what's going on around the globe, and ask them how it's affecting our housing market here. If they don't have an answer and they don't know what's going on around the globe, I would personally, I would run, because they're not really paying attention to the things that are going to affect the housing market. So our stocks, everything is being affected by what's going around globally. Different countries and companies are being affected, and in turn, I mean, if you want to get technical, you can say, well, that's not really affecting our cost of living, or our way of living here. But I mean, let's be real, it is, because supply and cost of things are very important when it comes to being able to qualify and afford to buy a house. So I know rents, for example, rents will start going up again, and there's going to be a lot more people renting than there is buying coming up. There's going to be a lot of changes for those of you who want to wait till spring to sell your houses. I think that's a very bad idea. I posted an article a couple of days ago on one of my sites. I can't remember where it was that I posted it, but it was in regards to the housing market, how much it's come down, and where the housing market's heading. Obviously, not too much information that panic-like is going to be shared, because it's going to freak everybody out. But we've had food shortages, we've had issues with this, issues with that since COVID, and I feel that a lot of information has to be slowly digested, rather than putting it all out there at once to impact things too much or freak people out. The housing market, it's not its own thing. It's a little bit separate, but it's affected by a lot of factors. So the housing market, with the interest rate hikes that we have coming on, and they're going to continue for at least a little while. One here in October, and then one in November or December. So things are going to change. Houses are going to become more unaffordable. There's articles out talking from major financial institutions and economists saying that the market is going to be affected. It's going to be changed. They're going to have to change the mortgage stress test. The government's going to have to look into that and see about making some adjustments to it. Otherwise, I don't think anybody will really be able to afford to buy anytime soon. Obviously, I think a lot of the older agents, when I talk about, they're comparing this to what happened years ago, and mortgage rate hikes back in the 80s and stuff like this. But people during the 80s, when your mortgage rates went up to as high as they did, the amount of money that people made in comparison to what their houses costed back then was quite different than what it is now. I mean, we're pretty maxed out when it comes to debt and things like this. I know for even Canada versus the United States, there's quite a bit of debt difference. I think every American, the national average is something like, for every dollar that an American makes, they owe $1.25 or $1.50, and then for every dollar that a Canadian makes, they owe like $2 or something like that. It's pretty bad. We're leveraged right out. We've been allowed to borrow a lot more money than we can pay for, typically. So there's going to be a lot of changes to affordability here. What's going on around the globe is affecting us, and is affecting the housing market. However you'd like to look at it, it's all trickling down. And you have major banks, as well as, agents are laughing about things posted by the CMHC. Okay, I posted something a few days ago, and I got some interesting comments from agents. And I don't know why they're posting things that really make them look silly. Like, don't post an ignorant comment on another realtor's page. I'm not going to call you out in public for it, really, but it doesn't make you look very professional, for starters. And second of all, the comment pretty much saying that, oh, that's the housing market. If it goes up, it has to come down. Well, that in itself is a pretty stupid comment. Naturally, that's the case, but how long is that going to take? Is this going to be a 2-month thing? Is it going to bounce back next month? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball. We can make predictions, and I'll make a prediction for you. I'll say that due to what's going on around the world right now, I mean, war things are escalating. Can you imagine if NATO and Russia went at war, if China or India got involved, or, you know, different things happen? There's so many different scenarios that can play out. What would happen to the housing market in this case? You know, I mean, civilization could pretty much cease to exist, and you guys would still say that the housing market's fine. Yeah, you know, it doesn't matter what's going on in the housing market. There's always somebody that has money to buy. There's always people that need to sell because of varying circumstances. But being in denial and telling the general public that the housing market is fine. I mean, statistically, it probably looks like it's doing okay. Yes, we know that housing prices are down and they're going to continue to go down. Or even if housing prices don't continue to go down, I feel like there's going to be less buyers that qualify. There's going to be a lot of changes here. I've got clients that want to sell in the springtime due to their personal circumstances, which I won't get into. But, you know, if they need to sell in the spring, that's when it's best for them. And I've always said, you know, sell when it's best for you to do so. Money does have a factor in that. Naturally, people want to get the most amount of money that they can when selling their house. But if you're waiting, you know, selling now versus selling in springtime, I can promise you're going to get a lot less money in the springtime versus if you were to sell now. Our housing market may be down, but I can almost guarantee you that it's not going to come up for the spring. So if you're ready to sell your house now, I suggest doing so, because it's only going to get worse from here. We're going to get some more mortgage rate hikes. I encourage you to check out some of my earlier videos that I've been posting for the past several months, talking about the housing market and interest rate hikes and things like this. I've been discussing this for months now, and you know, things are continuing on the path that I've said that they're going to continue on. I don't claim to be a know-it-all or Nostradamus, but if you pay attention to what's going on around the globe, what's going on here at home in Canada and in the GTA with the housing market and other things, stocks, companies, things like this, you're going to realize that some major economists, banks, and I mean, it's not a common consensus, but there are some people out there, and I agree with them, that this is not going to be something, you know, a short-term situation. This isn't going to bounce back in a month or 2 months from now. This could last several years. The shortages for food and war and things like this, I mean, this stuff could drag out for years, really. If it doesn't drag out for years, and if it ends quickly, how is it going to end? Those of you burying your heads in the sand, it's not... I don't know if you're concerned about your commission checks. I realize you guys have to eat as well and survive through everything that's going on, but not discussing what's going on in the housing market. And I know if some of you are going to say, well, no, my market's great. Well, that's cool. But, you know, as a general consensus, not all areas are doing great. All areas, I'm going to say, have fallen from their peak back in February. And a lot of the statistics that we're seeing are, you know, falling stats from where they were at their peak back in February. But also, you guys can't deny the fact that, you know, the cost of living has gone up pretty extravagantly, I would say. And it's made life for a lot of Canadians harder, affordability for Canadians harder. And this does have an effect, and is going to have an effect on the housing market. So, like I said, I don't know if you guys are concerned about your commission checks or what's going on here, but making comments, you know, silly, it doesn't make you look good when you make a comment on something that I post saying what goes up must come down, basically. You know, we've been through this before, and, you know, when the housing market goes up, it has to come down. Well, I don't think you could post a stupider comment, to be frank. It's unnecessary. And for those of you who are kind of on board with things, keep paying attention and informing people about what is going on, not just following statistics that you're reading on TREB or, you know, the different boards and stuff like this, there's always anomalies in statistics. You know, certain areas or certain houses or certain neighborhoods won't be as affected as others will be. For example, you know, the East Coast versus the GTA versus out West and wherever else, cottages versus houses. I mean, of course, there's slight variations in things. But as the general rule, I mean, cottages have come down in price. Cottages are still pretty pricey. They've come down. Housing is still pretty pricey, but there's going to be a lot more people because they're not going to be able to afford to buy. There's going to be a lot more people that are going to be looking to rent. So if you're a landlord, fantastic, but just remember to create strong relationships between landlords and tenants. Otherwise, it's not pleasant for anybody, and it doesn't have to be that way. So I want to say, keep paying attention. Check out some of my earlier videos. If you have a specific real estate topic that you'd like me to discuss or do a video on, I'd be happy to. Just leave it in the comments, and please leave tasteful comments. I don't want any stupid or arrogant comments in here. I've had them in the past. I'm just going to block and delete you because I don't have time for trolls. And I'll see you in my next real estate video. If you have any real estate questions about any properties or you're looking to buy or sell in the GTA, my direct number is 289-927-5991. My email is jamiestokesrealestate@gmail.com. I'll see you in my next real estate video.